back, everybody, to another edition of Pure Picks. Joined here by my man Top G and my other guy Alex. How you guys doing today?
Doing real well, man. Back home for the holidays. Get to see friends and family. Uh, Also was able to catch that awesome UFC card. So doing really well, man.
Oh yeah, good to hear, dude. How you doing, Top G?
Doing good. I'm doing good. Um, it was a great card, a lot of surprises, and we did pretty well. But yeah, it's going to be a good break for the holidays.
Definitely. And before we get to 2024, we wanted to give you Pure Pickers a fantastic recap of what happened at UFC 296, at least from our end. And before we get into some of the plays on, Bet MMA tips, some of the locks, sure things, I wanted to share what my guy Kevin did. I know that he's probably going to be in the next breakdown just to kind of give you a taste of what he's thinking. But I want to show you guys what he's doing while we're making these bets as well. So this motherfucker right here, he put down 40 G's, 40 bands on Shavkat Rakhmonov at minus 670. He said, fuck closing line movement. I'm just going to swing it around and get 5.9K back pretty much. So, my man, props to him. I'm sure he's doing well. And man, I think that takes some big balls. But when you know something's a lock, it's a lock. And that's why we told you throughout the week that this man was a gigalock. And I just want to show you guys what gigalocks can do for you. Get you a nice little down payment somewhere, maybe a couple months rent or something like that in this economy. So let's move on to the Bet MMA tips. Go ahead, Alex and Gerard. I want you guys to kind of start off in terms of what we did on the Bet MMA tips. And just for the pure pickers, we ended up with plus 3.98 units. And we want to give you a breakdown and a kind of a recap of how we landed those units. So feel free to kind of start off, guys.
Yep. So the first bet that we placed in the Bet MMA tips was Leon Edwards inside the distance, decision, no action. So basically what that means is we win the bet if Leon is able to, either sub or KO Colby. And if he doesn't, and the fight goes to decision, regardless of who wins, Colby or Leon, we would get our money back. So for this bet, kind of how what we were thinking was like, this is what I like to call a free roll. There's a saying that there's no such thing as a free lunch, but this is as close to one as you're gonna get. I know for all of us, we were thinking, there was no way that Colby was going to finish Leon inside the distance. We just saw no path to victory for Colby in terms of getting a finish. So we were like, you know, why not? 2.2 units to win 1 unit. Um, Pretty much as close to a free lunch as you're gonna get. Um, Unfortunately, it didn't hit, but we got our money back. So um, we like that bet from a value perspective.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I'd like to add that this almost hit actually, and Leon Edwards had two very deep submissions in this fight, but miraculously Kobe was able to get out of those submission attempts and was able to go to a decision. And we were expecting Kobe to take more risks, right, in this fight, and we did not see that at all. That was surprising that Kobe wasn't shooting more often. And had he shot more often and taken more risks in the stand up, he he might have been clipped by something big, but he was very cautious and for some reason he just wasn't pulling the trigger. So he was taking less risk, and that's why I think this inside the distance didn't hit. So I just
And
wanted to add that part.
and like Saturday morning when I woke up and saw that Drake placed a KO bet on Leon, fuck, I was like, damn. I was like, shit. But yeah, it is what it is. So what can you do?
Yeah, and to add on to that point, I was seeing that the odds were boosted for that specific prop on multiple sports books. So anytime you're seeing something like that happening, my God, I feel like that's just one of those what we like to call trap bets that, bookies put out there to get a little bit more action in. And yeah, Drake odds boosts. You don't want to hear those people in your bets when you're making them. And the second you hear that, just try to hedge out or, just pray to God or something like that. But good thing that we got that read initially and we didn't have to deal with any of that anguish in the end. I think that the next one that really was a nice little play for us was just kind of Leon Edwards as a whole. Gerard, could you explain to us a little bit about how you recapped in terms of how Edwards was a lock for you?
Yeah, seeing this, we know that Edwards, he's actually also kind of a decision fighter, and he can go 49 or 50 on the scorecards. And he was also the more dangerous fighter who can also find a finish. So I was leaning on that as well, that he was also in his prime years, and this is Kobe at 35 off of a 2-year layoff. And we don't know exactly how he was going to show. And to our surprise, he didn't really show because I guess that 2-year layoff and that range was kind of awkward for him to take a risk to throw punches and shoot. So he was kind of always on the back foot and he wasn't pressing Edwards. We saw Edwards pressing for most of the fight,
Mhm.
and that's kind of surprising to see. So yeah, Kobe was over the hill, and I think he's past his prime. And yeah, he couldn't really find the range, and he was trying to avoid the stance of that head kick. He kept switching stance because Leon was opening for the head kick, and then he would switch back. So yeah, he was avoiding those risks. So yeah, that it was easy. It should have been a Gigalock Edwards on this card,
Yeah.
honestly. And maybe had Kevin put maybe 10 bands instead of 40 bands on Leon Edwards, that he would have made a bigger one, a
I
bigger
mean,
and
yeah,
win.
just watching that fight overall, it just looked like Colby was fighting to not get knocked out.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it was like a terrible performance. Like I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah, he lost a lot of fans. I mean, I think me and Gerard went to a movie theater to watch this fight. Man, there were a lot of boos for Chaos Covington there. I didn't expect that just because of the way this guy started out fighting. I mean, he looked like a Leon Edwards looked like a minus 800 right off the bat. So it didn't get better throughout the night. I mean, this guy was just getting dominated, and Kobe looked really scared. So yeah, he lost a fan to me too as well. I mean, I'm not a fan of this guy anymore. Gerard, how about you talk about your over 1.5 parlay? That was a really nice one at plus 131.
Yeah. I yeah, both of these hit. It would have also added Ian Gary, but he didn't show. So the only overs I had left was Tony Ferguson over 1.5 and Stephen Thompson over 1.5. And these guys are vets. They know how to survive rounds and get to the bell. So I took that into account, and that's what happened here. And Ferguson, he had insane cardio, resiliency. Even though we thought he was going to get finished, he found a way to just stay in the game, even on his back, and just survive. And for Wonder Boy, we saw time and time again that he's hard to take down, and he's also very hard to finish. And yeah, that's what I saw in those fights, and the over 1.5 hit, and I parlayed those two, and they hit pretty nicely on this one.
Fantastic reads, man. Edwards and the overs. I really love those. Alex, how about you get started on some of your hits as well?
Yeah, so the one I want to talk about is the Pantoja outright to win. We put that in a parlay with I believe it's the over 2.5. Irene Aldana and Carol Rosa and Bischoff got another gigalock. But yeah, what I want to talk about is a Pantoja win. Um, man, I really think I capped that fight to a to a T. Like I basically what I envisioned was going to happen played out. Like I knew Pantoja was gonna get takedowns at will. Um, he's much stronger, and that coupled with the fact that Royval has, terrible takedown defense, the way he kind of just plods forward, uh, it's very conducive to getting a lot of takedowns for like his opponents. Um, and then I mentioned, the gas. Like this guy looked like he was gassed in the third, fourth, and even the second round. But it's so easy for him to get takedowns, and once he gets a takedown, he can just lay on top of you. So I think the fact that this fight was 5 rounds, it made a lot of people bet Royval. They were thinking, man, the last fight, 3 rounds only. This guy was looking gassed out in the second round. So they were like, oh, okay, it's 5 rounds. Let's put some money on Royval. I think he was a very, very popular underdog, but I was super confident in Pantoja to win. And so much so that I wish we put him in more of our plays, but still glad it hit. And yeah, I think it was a very solid bet.
Definitely. Yeah, I love the breakdown that you had. It really played out like how you said it did. Also, could you talk about the over 2.5 that I believe you had? I think you had that play as well.
Yeah. So this is the over 2.5, Aldana and Rosa. I'm not gonna lie, man. This one was a real sweat. um, Man, but this was a fantastic fight to watch. I thought we were screwed after the first round because Rosa kept on uh chipping away at her leg, and I was like, oh man, there's no way. And I picked Aldana to win too, so I was like, oh man, she's definitely gonna lose. Like it kind of looked like a 10-8 round in the first round just from like the leg damage. But man, Aldana's one tough she's one tough girl, man. She kept on moving forward. The, like I was surprised that Rosa didn't even try and like grapple to slow
Mhm.
that pace and pressure down. But I think glad that it hit. Um, and I think the read initially was that this was going to be a pretty slow paced fight. That's why the over 2.5 was juiced like that. But glad it hit, and sometimes you take those. Sometimes luck isn't on your side. Sometimes it is. So glad the over hit.
Definitely. The over 2.5 women's sometimes is a system play. So I think it was great that that one hit. And as far as any other kind of things you want to talk about for this?
Yeah, I wanted to quickly just talk about the loss that we have at the very bottom. The over 1.5 Buday versus Gaziev. I know in my breakdown video I said, I was pretty confident with this pick, and just looking back at it, I think that that was definitely a mistake uh, on my part. So definitely apologize for that. But I think the read went wrong because like I should have factored in that Buday looked very terrible in that one fight against Gerard. Who's that one fighter that he was smoking him in the
Collier.
first round? Yeah, Collier. Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
So if I should have known that, Buday in that fight against Collier 2 fights ago, he was getting smoked hard by Collier, and I should have drew parallels to the fact that he is a slow starter. He does get hit, and he was getting hit a lot by Collier, who's now been cut by the UFC, and Gaziev hits. He's a very strong starter. He's a first round finisher. If you look at his tapology, he gets a lot of first round finishes. Um, I shouldn't have relied too much on, Budai's durability. And so I think, that was actually really good value on the under. And so that was, a mistake. But you learn. But I will say though, Gaziev was gassed out in the second round. So that's something that we need to take into account. If he fights another heavyweight that's a little bit more durable, like I could see Gaziev being in a lot of trouble. So that's how that fight went.
Definitely. Another funny thing that I remember on the broadcast that they mentioned, they started throwing out all these facts that I wish that I would have locked down before the fight. They were saying Martin Buday's opponent's records were like 9-16 or something like that. So that kind of shows that he's facing a lot of quote unquote trash fighters. Another thing was they said that this guy was, I didn't know this. I wish I knew this. He was like a 370-pound dude, 75-pound dude, was playing Counter Strike for 20 hours straight per day, and he lost all that weight. And then he finally, started fighting. And then when they were describing the Gaziev guy, they were like, "Yeah, this guy, grew up playing volleyball, and then he made the transition into MMA fighting, trained with Habib's father, and now trains with Mohammed Makayev." I'm like, "Oh man, it's just the facts just kept on raining down." I was like, "Oh, dude, this guy's getting finished." And it just looks so bad. Like Boudet just had nothing for this dude. I'm shocked that he even survived as long as he did. That I guess he has a little bit of toughness, but that is, yeah, it was quite shocking that he came out like that and did not look good. So I totally agree with that too. I mean, the over 1.5. Now I also thought that was going to hit, and yeah, it ended up did not hitting. So the under implies a little better play there. Going for some of my plays, I was just really locked in to two guys on this whole entire card, and they were Paddy Pimblett and Shavkat Rakhmonov. Reason number one, both the guys that they're facing damn near 40 years old. I mean, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 41 years old. Tony Ferguson, 39 years old, I believe. I think he's turning 40. But it's not just about the age, it's about their last few performances as well and what they have put inside the octagon. Going back to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, this guy, he fought Kevin Holland in a handshake agreement fight where he told Kevin Holland not to grapple him and take him down. Anytime when you're doing that, and supposedly you're a title contender, you want to kind of win the championship, that just gives me red flags that this guy is not able to handle a grapple session anymore. Now, if let's say that Wonder Boy was maybe 37, 36, he might have been able to put up a better performance in that fight. But I think that he, at the moment, is just much past his prime, and fixing a guy like Rachmanov, who's just in the prime of his career, I just didn't see any other way that fight was going to go. I think that Rachmanov was going to finish him inside 2 rounds, and that held up to be true. So even at that juice price of -600, to me, that's like more of like a -2,000, -1,000. Like you just need to lock that in, put that into any possible parlay piece that you have. Do like what our man Kevin did and put 40 G's by him at -670. That's just what we call a gig lock, and we don't get those opportunities often. So when we get them, put them in and everything, and you're probably going to lock it in. The other one, Paddy Pimblett, and this also goes into my theme of fading fighters rather than riding them. I don't think Paddy Pimblett is that good. He kind of showed that in the fight. Looked really gassed out in the third round. He looked like I was kind of scared that he might have got finished by Tony, because Tony does still have some power, and if anything, Tony has cardio. But what you see is that Tony, he's just a little too old now. He doesn't have that physicality. He doesn't have that speed, quickness, or anything to be able to fend off even a guy like Paddy Pimblett. I mean, at moments there, Paddy Pimblett looked like Habib Nurmagomedov, just raining down ground shots, top control, taking down Tony at will. The old Tony Ferguson would have been able to perhaps elbow him, maybe get him in the sub or something, get up back up, right? But he was just having David Goggins in his corner telling him to get up. That's the advice. And, that's another sign, too. I mean, Jack Black was in Stephen Thompson's corner. David Goggins was in Tony's corner. I mean, it's a lot of like weird signs that if you're fighting for the championship, you're a UFC caliber athlete, UFC caliber winner, you don't really have those sideshow attractions that you usually see. So for all the reasons above, I think that Paddy Pimblett was just more of a lock. Shavkat was a lock. Put them in together. You get a -196. that was a 5-unit gig a lot for me. You can put more if you want, but we're on the safe and conservative side here. So we're not recommending people do a 10-unit, but that's a 10-unit one in my opinion. But I think 5 units is good enough. Why not get 2.5 units back, play for another day? And not to end on a bad note, but I do want to talk about this L that I took right here. And man, I even said it during the meeting that we have for these Bet MMA tips kind of plays. I was like, man, this is a risky parlay, but I want to tell you guys about it. I had Casey O'Neill versus and Bryce Mitchell as a two-legger. Put a unit on that. I want to talk about Casey O'Neill a little bit first. I mean, I misread that fighter completely. I thought that she was actually much better in the striking department than what she showed. And also, I really overestimated her grappling and physicality. It turns out when I looked at them side by side in the fight, man, I think Lipsky might have been even the larger fighter. Just looking at it, like it was just very strange. Like she seemed like she was a more of a physical force. That could have been because O'Neal might not be the same anymore coming off that knee injury because she has looked really flat in her last two fights. But just overall, that was a bad matchup for her. She was getting pressured, had no answers for Lipsky on the ground or the feet, and that was just a terrible play. So I do apologize for putting a minus 200 Casey O'Neill in a parlay. That's something that I do not strive for, and that will not happen again. I will not put another women's MMA minus 200 as a parlay piece. I'm good on that. And also Bryce Mitchell, I should have saw that one coming. I think I kind of deserved that KO punch because trust me, when I saw that live, I was like, man. By then we already lost this parlay, so I wasn't really too upset about it. But just seeing that baseball bat coming at Bryce Mitchell's kind of face, first I felt kind of sorry for the guy. That's a potential like career ender right there. The way he was kind of convulsing in the ring in the cage, and that's just something that we don't want to see. But a few things about the things that I missed on that fight. Josh Emmett, he was probably the most dangerous person that Bryce would have faced. I think he's even just in terms of like just scary knockout power. He's probably the most dangerous person that Bryce even faced, even over Ilia Topuria. And Bryce, as a guy, I mean, I think that he's not equipped to take that damage. If you see it, like one of those punches that lands on him, like I personally think that Bryce is like one of the few natural guys in the UFC, just based on his build. He could probably even cut to 135 even if he actually wanted to, or lift some weights and go to 155. But I think he stays at that natural weight for him. He fights in a natural weight, all natural. And when you're fighting a guy like Josh Emmett, who's very juiced, if I don't say so myself, this motherfucker is 39 or like 38 or something like that. He looks like he's 29. Like he looks like he's in the prime of his career at all times. Like the body is still there, the power is still there, the juice is definitely still there. So I mean that's just something that I should have read a little bit better as far as if you're putting this guy who's like all natural, eating like grass fed beef steak, like lives on a farm, like this guy's super natural, but you're facing this dude with a baseball bat as an overhand. I mean I'm staying away from that. And the short notice too did not help. I think that Bryce might have underestimated what was coming to him as far as some of that juice. So I'm gonna take into account for the future to not put too much stock in like a short notice kind of person, because that just gives you a little bit more of variables that you don't want, especially in these safe parlays. So that's pretty much my kind of read on that, and I'll take it into account for the future for sure. Other than that, to end on a great note, we still ended up with a plus 3.98 units to end off the year. Throughout these last few months, we've been, I think, doing pretty solid. We've had a few L's here and there, but I also think that we had some really good plays as well. Gerard and Alex, do you guys have anything that you'd like to add as far as, how the year has gone for you guys, or, anything at all, maybe looking forward to 2024? The floor is yours.
I just wanted to add on that Bryce Mitchell. I think I blame myself. I think I sold Bryce Mitchell to you,
It's all good.
James. And because I hit on my last short notice fight, and I thought I could hit on another one,
Right.
which was Jalen Turner. But apparently, yeah, the height. I think it's kind of awkward for Bryce too, because I noticed that the height was like the perfect size, and then that low stands for Emmett to cock back that shot, and
Yeah.
then he's so low that Bryce can't even hit him that low. So he went for it, and he's already so low, and then the overhand just came over. So that was something that I should have thought of more into this breakdown. But yeah, I take the Bryce L. That was mine. I that was my flop of the best bets for me. So yeah, that's not on James.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Prayers up to Bryce. Prayers to Bryce.
yeah. Prayers up. Yeah, I think, like just looking at the card overall, I think I had some like pretty bad reads as well. That I'm thankful we didn't put into bet MMA tips. For example, Cody Durden misread that one. I thought he was a good underdog. I think he I think he pretty much got dominated. He couldn't, handle the Tagir trips, and Tagir ended up getting the sub. Another one was Dustin Jacoby and Menefield. One quick thing I want to say about that was like I know the easy thing for that is, play Dustin Jacoby by points and then hedge with Alonzo Menefield KO. But I think we see here that that can be a trappy bet where you think that Menefield's only win condition is a knockout, but he ends up winning by decision. And so I think that fight, you know, I learned a lot from that fight and just understanding how I would approach fights like that in the future. Um, and then, another one, Cody Garbrandt against Brian Kelleher. Like looking back, that's a smash on Cody. I think Cody's stand-up game out it's so much better than Kelleher's um wrestling game and stand-up game that that's like an easy smash on Cody. So, things that I learned from this card for sure that, I'm definitely going to carry forward into 2024.
Perfect. And it's always great that we're constantly learning, constantly just getting some good education from watching these fights because that's what we're all here about to do. We're always about improving, getting better for the next card, getting ready for 2024. And, if 2024, if this is like kind of the sign of how we're going to do 2024, I feel really great about our odds. Feel really great about our chances to really make some people some profit and money here. So yeah, other than that, I mean, Gerard, do you have anything else to add?
Um, I think over the whole year, I think we did pretty good. I think everyone should review how they did and learn from their mistakes over the year. And I just think that after seeing how we did this year, I think we can only improve for next year. So it's, we'll be much better next year.
Perfect. Let's get it. Yeah, in 2024, just to tell you guys, we're coming back. The website will be up and running, and really everything will be smooth sailing just for the next few weeks because I know that we have a little bit of a gap between today and the next event at January 13th, I believe, for Fight Night. We're gonna come out with some more content, maybe pump out a few videos to show you guys, what kind of plays that we might have. Obviously, maybe get some early reads on UFC Fight Night, the following Fight Night, and also potentially a few tutorial videos about how we see things, how we break things down, also how to navigate certain things on our kind of website in a way too. So I think that these are just going to be some nice informative things for the peer pickers to kind of see. Uh, but yeah, I digress. I want to just wish everyone a happy holidays, happy new year, and we're gonna be back for 2024. Um, have a great time, guys. I think that we all enjoy making these videos, and it's really for the peer pickers, really for you guys. So signing off for 2023. See you guys in 2024.
Yes, sir.
Happy pure picking.